we have got to start taking care of these young men and women if we're going to build the fighting force that we need. Thank you.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Tuberville. Senator Slotkin.
Sorry, apologies. I'm not used to going anything but last, Chairman, so shocked me. Thank you for being here. Congratulations on your nomination, as I said when we met. I was glad to hear so many people talking about the collision that happened last night. You will have an important role in that investigation if confirmed. It does sound like it's a training mission, but it's just important that we lead a thorough process. People across the country are mourning, watching that, and everyone on this panel here flies in and out of there. I mean, it's hard not to think about it. So thank you for your attention to that. You know, I think the thing we talked about in my office is I am a Democrat who won on the same ballot as Donald Trump. I absolutely understand that Donald Trump has the right to nominate his own people, put forward his own policies. I've seen that now in many transitions, Democrat and Republican. But the thing that I keep coming back to is the core constitutional responsibility. You will swear an oath to the Constitution, not to any one president. Many of us have worked alongside or in the military for a long time and care deeply about it remaining apolitical. We're seeing now active duty military, Army, being sent to the border, being sent on missions right now to support DHS. But according to our Constitution, the U.S. military active duty cannot perform law enforcement roles. When you were trained in the military, were you trained on basic law enforcement techniques?
I was not, Senator.
And can we agree that searching a building in Iraq or Afghanistan when you're in a combat zone as an Army officer is fundamentally different than performing those kinds of search and activities inside the United States with American citizens?
Senator, this isn't meant to be evasive. I've been trained on it, and so I couldn't answer what would be different about it from my training.
Yeah, I think the issue is not just the Constitution, although that should be enough. I am deeply concerned that active duty troops are going to be forced into law enforcement roles, and we're already hearing stories that really, really touch right on the line. They're not properly trained. There's going to be an incident. Someone's going to get hurt. There's going to be some sort of blow up. And suddenly, we're going to have a community deeply, deeply angry at uniformed military who were just told to go and drive those DHS vehicles, clear that building, perform support to something. So I have to ask you again that if the U.S. Army was asked, active duty, was asked to do something that contravened the Constitution, can you say clearly that you will push back on anyone, whether it's the Secretary of Defense or the Commander-in-Chief, and stand up on behalf of the Army instead of just doing whatever you're told?
Just to answer the beginning part of the question, Senator, I reject the premise that the President or Secretary of Defense would ask for an order like that.
Fine.
But I will always follow the law.
Okay. I mean, your predecessor, Secretary of the Army, Secretary Esper, had this exact thing that he wrote about in his book, 82nd Airborne Army, was asked to come in and clean up peaceful protests in Washington, D.C. So I reject your rejection that this is theoretical, that this is hypothetical. It's not. And a nominee and confirmed secretary under Trump, I know they've removed his portrait, but I just have to say this is not a hypothetical. So we're counting on you to protect the integrity of a non-political military that is not trained in law enforcement roles. Next, do you support revoking the pension that comes with anyone who is honorably discharged from the Army?
It's hard to deal in a hypothetical, Senator.
It's not hypothetical. There's now focus on Mark Milley, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And I know there's lots of controversy around Mark Milley, but you can't debate that he served many more years than anyone on this panel. Can you tell me that you support the seemingly political reprisal of removing someone's pension when they've already been honorably discharged?
Senator, without knowing the specific details, I do support the president's right to execute lawful
Because you
orders.
see the pattern this starts. So then another administration comes in, and suddenly people who supported Donald Trump are having their pensions removed. You can see how this politicizes the institution that should be apolitical. And for the January 6 guys and all these folks, there wasn't a question about their pensions, and I have deep concerns about it. I know my time is up, and I yield back.
Thank